Hi, I'm Stephen Budden. I help people clear the past so they can thrive. I'm an existential detective. So, what I do and how I got into this is that when I started touching people, some memories arose. Sometimes these were inexplicable memories, like past life memories, archetypal memories, and sometimes they were just memories from childhood or memories from a repressed trauma. So, though I started the training to become a massage therapist, it quickly took a detour and I became, like I said, an existential detective. I help people find themselves. What's between you and the moment is these things you're carrying in your body, you're storing in the past. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a walkthrough of how this works. If you come to me, I notice, for one thing, there's a certain symmetry in the body. Think of the time 11:11. There's a certain symmetry. And if parts are collapsed, like the liver side's collapsed, that might be indicative of some anger. The arches of the feet are collapsed. There are open areas and there are collapsed areas. I tend to see this in two channels of energy. So when I see a collapsed area, I literally start asking questions based on the symbolism of that area, which is very important. And I also just start bringing awareness to the body in general, because most people are not that aware of the body. If you ask how do you feel, they'll say, like, I feel like blah, 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 which is actually a thought. Or even, I feel like my shoulder's a little bit sore, another thought. So what is a feeling or a sensation or a thought, and where do the two intersect? You have to bring that up in the dialogue or none of this works. So we set the context through speaking. In the speaking piece of the engagement, I usually try to get to the point of some emotional flow. Once you get to the point of some emotional flow, then the barriers come down. The barriers between you and the other, the barriers between the conscious and the unconscious, and healing starts to happen at other realms. Sometimes if it's a Zoom call or such, that's as far as we can go. However, the energy still does move. This thing, like distance between us, is an illusion anyway. So we start to move the energy, and after the energy moves and there's like some sort of catharsis and the safety is built up, then we can move to the next piece, which is standing work, which I call standing in flow. It's part of the Philomela protocol. Philomela protocol is based on my own awakening experiences, culminating in a near-death experience where I was kind of brought back to life. So I walk clients through that same process so they can be brought back to life. Now, I broke my neck at one point. I don't want you have to break your neck. However, some of the same mechanisms are at work. You're pinned in somewhere uncomfortable, and you sit with that long enough to realize where you've been holding to complete what's incomplete. So after the standing work, there's a certain body blueprint. You can see it if you look into the mirror. I think of the story of a narcissist looking into the mirror and becoming a flower. A lot of these old myths are woven with different meanings. They're kind of Sufi tales, like Aesop's fables. A lot of them are like that. But there's something we're programmed against looking in the mirror, but looking in the mirror can be very healing. Reading the Louise Hay work and other work, I'd often see a mirror and be like, I love and approve of you just as you are, Stephen. Right? I love and approve of you just as you are, because you'll try to wiggle out of that. So the reason I mention the mirror is because when you look in the mirror long enough, you can see the blueprint of your body, and you can see what's between. I'm turning up the brightness here because my battery's going low. The blueprint is sort of what's between you and where you could be. Like, see some of these scars? There are times I see in the blueprint these scars aren't there. Those are old scars from a misaligned diet creating lymphatic congestion in my head and other things. So I look at the body and I see the blueprint. I see, oh, this is collapsed, this shouldn't be. I see a radiant light there and I see a darkness over here. I see this person is a bold speaker and yet they're whispering, etc. So I work from the ground up. First, open up the feet. The feet are in contact with the earth. We tend to think I've been standing on my feet all day. As a mentor of mine used to say, no, the feet are as much a part of you as anything. You and your feet are standing upon the earth. You are supported. You are standing upon the earth. You see the difference? I've been on my feet all day. There's these disconnects. There's a disconnect because your ankle is collapsed and your arches are collapsed, so the foot doesn't feel like you. When I first felt my feet, I was 30 years old, and I cried tears of joy, literally, because I didn't know I had been disconnected from myself. Now, if you're not connected to your feet, you cannot feel whole psychologically. Isn't that crazy? We're not taught to think that way. This is part of the Philomela protocol. Boom, you have to get when I hit the ocean floor, a blow to the head. In many cathedrals, in France, there's a symbolism of the alchemist and someone getting a blow to the head. There's sculptures of Jesus figure getting a blow to the head. That's the call to shamanism, the call to awakening in every tradition. That's what I got. That's what you're getting. That's what I'm going to give you, or bring you, or guide you to, or open you up to, or reframe. You need to be broken in order to heal. However, back to the ground, back to the earth. We're coming in touch with the earth again. A lot of my clients are highly intuitive, sort of star beings, let's say, descend to the earth to live a radiant life. Ooh, there's all this war and calamity, I'm shutting down. This is coming into your body almost sometimes for the first time and falling in love with life again. That's why I'm an existential detective. When I say I help people find themselves and fall in love with life again, that's what it is. It's a beautiful, beautiful, stunning process, and it makes life worth living. Whereas if you're ready to go, I'm out of here, you're going to find more beauty in these leaves and trees and clouds than you ever thought was even possible. And we do this interiorly. So this stacking up the system again in a fluid way that's human starts to reframe the exterior world. When I found my feet, I stood up and everything was joyous. I've had the same with releasing like a liver congestion, anger, congestion, detoxing, boom, clear that, everything's joyous. Everything's joyous is your natural birthright. Whenever I clear anything major, the client sits up and the tears of grief overflow into tears of joy. It's an alchemical process. I feel like if I could catch those tears in a little vial, we could use them for healing. So open up the feet, we parallel, toes spread, arches lifted. This gets complicated because everyone has a little bit of a difference. And I can tell you beyond the shadow of a doubt, move a piece of your foot 1/8 of an inch and your whole life changes. Your whole life changes. I've had people say, you move my foot and I changed careers. I wanted to change my name. I changed partnerships. I moved your foot? What? You can't just move someone's foot. You have to start with this process of realigning and reframing what it means to be alive. And then you move the foot and like, oh, I feel the context. I feel this stuff you were saying, which was just semantic insanity a few seconds ago, is now like rife with deep meaning and literal truth. When I say existential detective, existential is misassociated with the existentialist philosophers who don't believe in God. God is dead and Sartre and all that. It actually, one of the earlier meanings is experiential. So I help you find yourself through experience. You think you know who you are. You don't. You think you know what your problems are. You don't. You think you know where you're bound up. You don't. And I didn't either. So it's not a judgment. Again, please don't have to break your neck to find this. So once we open that, we open the hips, find the rocking place. We find the areas of the body, the psoas, the longest muscles in the body, spiritual conduits in Tibetan, the seat of the ego, because that's where you hold on to things. Let's stop holding on to things. You want to do that now? Standing in flow should be effortless. You are standing in flow and alive. And then once we get to that, there's a shaking, a trembling, soft knees. There has to be like a way to find the trembling, like in the Alexander technique and Wilhelm Reich coming out of that. Everyone who was into this was shut down by the powers that be, okay? Now we're finally free to expose what's most real. So, as a soul being, the body doesn't matter. However, you're here to experience the body fully. So the body does matter. It's the most important thing. You cannot have an experience without the body being involved, right? Do you understand? So this is the most powerful thing I can impart to you. Your body is wedded to your soul. Your thoughts and body are one. Like everything is so wedded, you cannot tell where one starts and one begins. One client, I was touching her ribs and she had a past life memory of getting shot. So how did the soul, spirit carry the memory to those ribs? Is all time simultaneous? Ask these real questions because they actually matter. I'm checking my battery so the phone doesn't die right at the climax of this video, as it often does. Why? Powers that be, technological devices. So I got to be a little bit quick here. And also, I'm unprepared and this isn't charged that well. I had a fit of inspiration. Let's put the responsibility where it lies. So, and then we move to lying work, the most intense, touching into the literal psoas, the shoulders, opening up the space between the ribs. You're a fluid being. You're meant to be fluid. Wherever you're frozen, that's where you're locked up in the past. In the future, in the moment, you're fluid. This is why I encourage you to say, in the past, I've noticed these symptoms instead of, I have this disease, I have this disease. Never say that. You don't have anything unless you want to hold it and embrace it. And you have a wife, you have sex, whatever. None of that's accurate. You're with this person for a time, you've experienced these symptoms in the past, you've carried the label into the present, etc. Get it as fluid as possible, learn to stand in a fluid way, and you'll be completely free. Life will unfold like nothing else. So that's a quick guideline to finding yourself via the body. And I'm Stephen Budden. I'll see you on the other side. I love you.